Every generation of scientists eventually confronts a moment when the question is no longer, can we do this? But, should we? The atomic bomb, human cloning, gain-of-function research. Each new power requires a new reckoning. CRISPR germline editing is that reckoning for our generation. And He Jiankui didn't create the temptation. He just acted on it before the rest of us had agreed on an answer. The question now is, have we actually found the answer? Or have we just agreed not to talk about it until someone else forces the issue? Modern biomedical ethics was not built in a vacuum. It was built in response to disasters. The Nuremberg Code was written in the aftermath of Nazi medical experiments, establishing that voluntary consent is absolutely essential in human research. The Belmont Report followed the Tuskegee syphilis experiments, which had observed the progression of untreated syphilis in Black American men for decades without telling them. The Declaration of Helsinki codified the principle that a patient's best interest must always come before the interests of science. Each of these frameworks was written because someone did something terrible, and the world said, never again. He Jiankui violated every one of them. He manipulated consent. He placed the ambitions of science above the welfare of the children he was creating. The most important ethical distinction in gene editing is the one between somatic and germline. Somatic editing, changing the DNA of a person's existing cells, is, in principle, not fundamentally different from other forms of medical intervention. The prime editing therapy that helped Ty Sperl was somatic. The CRISPR sickle cell therapy, Casgevy, is somatic. These are genuinely hopeful medicine. Germline editing is different in kind, not just degree. You are altering the DNA of a person who does not yet exist, and whose changes will be inherited by every descendant. This distinction is why the 2015 International Summit on Human Genome Editing called for a moratorium specifically on clinical germline editing. He Jiankui crossed it. And the question is, how robust is that line today? Here is the uncomfortable truth. Since 2022, interest in germline editing has not declined. It has grown. In 2025, a cluster of startup companies, primarily in the United States, announced interest in embryo gene editing, funded by significant private wealth. Some of these efforts are framed in preventing serious genetic diseases. Others shade towards something harder to define: optimizing outcomes, intelligence, longevity. If you could edit an embryo to prevent Tay-Sachs disease, a devastating, fatal neurological condition that kills children before age 5, should you? The technology that would edit out Tay-Sachs is the same technology that could be used to select for height or intelligence. The line is drawn by policy, not biology. The scientific community has responded with exactly the tools it has: international commissions, advisory reports, recommendations, moratoriums. None of these have legal force. None of them can stop a well-funded private actor in a permissive jurisdiction from doing what He Jiankui did. It cannot guarantee that someone in the United States, where the FDA cannot currently approve such a procedure, but where there is no criminal law against the research, won't find a workaround. He Jiankui tested the system and found it permeable. The people watching may be learning from his mistakes, not the ethical mistakes, the tactical ones. In our final episode, we return to the 3 children at the center of this story. The ones whose names we don't know, whose faces we've never seen. What do we owe them? And what does their existence require of us?